Okay, the learning outcome is to demonstrate different precautionary procedures before entering an enclosed spaces or contaminated space during inspections. No? Not only during inspections, during repair if necessary. No? Let's say nasira yung bulbs. Mr. Ambo. Okay, don't forget to mute your microphone para hindi tayo ma-disturb. Ano? Okay, so enclosed space. An enclosed space is a space which is not used for day-to-day activity and which has any of the following characteristics. Limited opening for entry and exit. So your ballast tank, you have only two openings, no, for entry and exit. So that is also considered as enclosed space. Okay, inadequate ventilation. Although your ballast tank has an air pipe or an air ventilation, that is not probably that is not enough, no, to supply air inside your tank if you are going to stay there, no. And then it is not designed for continuous worker occupancy, no. So sometimes even your cargo hold could be considered as enclosed space depending upon the cargo inside, no. Although you have worked many times inside the cargo hold, but sometimes, no, especially yung tanker. Okay, we need to study the procedure for entering enclosed space on the vessel, no. Okay, entering enclosed space or contaminated spaces, potentially dangerous spaces including cargo spaces. So it can be considered, no, depende, no. Cargo, fuel and ballast tanks. Cargo tanks, meaning for tankers, no. Pump rooms, coffer dams, duct kills, peak tanks and double bottom tanks. So actually your peak tanks and double bottom tanks is also a ballast tank. So this is redundant, no. Your duct kill, the duct kill is located below your cargo hold, and it is an inspection tunnel actually, ano. It is where the hydraulic valves are connected. Now in case the hydraulic valves are failing or are not working properly, then you can check inside the duct kills. Although the duct kill is fitted with air ventilation, which is mechanical, no. Kaya lang, if you fail to switch on the ventilation, then of course you may be suffocated inside, no. And you have to open all openings because there are two openings on main deck. So you need to open also that, no. Let's say passing inside the mast house, you need to open that so that air can go inside.
Sir, excuse po.
Yes.
Paksap na po si Valdez po.
Okay, so ganun ang sabihin niyo sa akin kung ano, kasi when I am discussing, I cannot see my message, no. Minsan may message doon, hindi ko makita. So thank you, ha. So yan ang duct kill, no. It is actually a tunnel. Okay, permit to work. A permit to work should be completed for each and every enclosed space entry as it serves as both a check and a record that all necessary measures have been properly carried out and are in place for the intended enclosed space entry. Actually, it is acting like a checklist. No? When completing the form, the responsible person should allocate a time period for which the permit is valid. This should never exceed 24 hours. Although this is already stipulated in your safety management system. No, you have your form there. It is already written in your form that the permit should be valid only for 24 hours and only for one entry, no? Let's say pumasok ka ngayon na alas 3 ng hapon. Siyempre bukas ng umaga, wala pang 24 hours 'yun, pero hindi na 'yun valid kasi nagamit mo na, no? Okay, for making the permit to work, of course, there should be a risk assessment done by your department head. So, risk assessment must be carried out before the entry into enclosed space. Permit to work system should only be for the specific duration of the work for that particular day and not valid for the following day. No? So, actually, yung ating risk assessment should be done prior. No? Kahit na malayo pa yung work, you can also make the risk assessment. No? And then you can finalize it later on. So, this is also signed by the master and, of course, by the chief officer. Okay, permit to work system should only be for the specific duration of the work for that particular day and not valid for the following day. So, you need also to learn about permit to work, no? I believe I have discussed this in maritime law, no? When I handled maritime law, yung permit to work system. But this one is um, should be discussed in the safety management system. Okay, enclosed space entry permit. So ipapakita ko sa inyo yung itsura. Okay, this is an example of enclosed space entry permit. Location, reason for entry, let's say inspection or repair. This permit is valid from and to. You have the time there and date. Okay, so to be checked by the master or nominated responsible officer, of course the master will not go there to check, no? He will stay on the bridge. The nominated responsible person should be the chief mate. Has the space been thoroughly ventilated? It should be ventilated 24 hours prior to entry. No? Although minsan di naman nasusunod, pero at least confident ka naman. If that is your ballast, actually may hangin naman talaga sa loob yun. There is oxygen inside, but we are not sure if it is enough. Kaya that's why you need to ventilate it thoroughly para mag-circulate yung air inside the tank. Okay, has the space been segregated by blanking off or isolating all connecting pipelines or valves? So of course you will not that is not necessary to isolate actually ano. But in some circumstances only. You just need to seal the valves so that there is no what do you call this one? There is no accidental opening of the valves, no? Okay, has the space been cleaned where necessary? Sometimes it is not, but you can still go there, no? Has the space been tested and found safe for entry? This is the most important one. And you need to test for oxygen, hydrocarbon, and toxic gases. So even if you forget, nakalagay naman diyan yung volume, no? Siyempre, alam naman natin 21% is the volume of oxygen so that we can survive. So for the hydrocarbon, of course it should be less than 1%. Excuse me. So we have an equipment on board for this purpose, no? We have also portable, which you can bring below or inside the tank. It is better to bring that one so that in case there is no sufficient oxygen, you can detect right away na mag-alarm kagad yung iyong gamit. Okay, so just follow the this because this one is acting like a checklist, no? Actually, it is a checklist, although it is a permit. Because some of this, even if it is already signed by the master, but some of this you will do while or before, prior to entry, no? Okay, I have agreed on a reporting interval of, usually I do 1 minute. Kasi if you do 3 minutes, that is a lot of time, no? Pero 1 minute. Okay, so anyway, I will give you a copy of this PowerPoint in PDF form. So you just read. Okay, the persons who are going inside the tank also will sign this one, no? Normally, I have observed because I am transferring from different company to other company or from one company to another pala. Um, there should be a space here for signature. Anyway, this is a very long space. So nilagay mo dyan yung pangalan mo. Let's say Juan de la Cruz. Then you can sign on the side, no? It means you agree to enter. And if you agree, of course, it is safe. Kasi kung if you think it is not safe, then why will
Yes.
you sign? Yes. Okay, risk assessment. Of course, we also have a form. Okay. Okay, I will show you the form, pero hindi na natin pag-aralan. Okay, ganun din, ano? You have the date of evaluation completed by, of course, the department head. Kung sa makina, chief engineer. Pero sometimes, ipagawa niya kay second engineer, pero siya rin naman ang pipirma, ano? Okay, so this is your risk assessment. Actually, normally ang risk assessment is 2 or 3 pages, no? So siguro ito ay sample lang naman, no? Poor or inadequate ventilation, explain. Hindi ganyan din sa amin eh. Okay, anyway, this is only an example na for risk assessment there are company forms also, no? You can find in your safety management system. Okay, authorization of entry. No person should open or enter an enclosed space unless authorized by the master or nominated responsible person and unless the appropriate safety procedures laid down for the particular ship have been followed. Kita mo, no? Tapos pag lumipat ka dun sa kabilang space, dito ka lang dadaan, nakita mo tong ano na to. Malaki, kasya ang tao dyan, kahit mataba. Kasi mataba ako dati, kasya ako eh. Okay, the master or responsible person should determine that it is safe to enter an enclosed space by ensuring that potential hazards have been identified in the assessment and as far as possible isolated or made safe. Yun ang purpose ng risk assessment, no? You can identify those hazard and um, you can correct kung meron man dapat i-correct. You can correct any of those, no? Okay, that the space has been thoroughly ventilated by natural or mechanical means to remove any toxic or flammable gas or flammable gases and to ensure an adequate level of oxygen throughout the space. So we have on board a portable ventilator that is easily transferred from one tank to another. So you can use that one, no? And that ventilator you can be, wait, oxygen. Okay, so you have the portable ventilator, no? And this ventilator is, you can use it as a suction and you can use it also as a fan. No? So, ano siya, tagusan kumbaga, no? You can position it to suction the air from the tank, and then on the other opening you can also ano tawag doon, yung use it as a fan para yung outside air naman ang kanyang ibubuga, no? So the outside air will be driven by that this ventilator inside your ballast tank or tank. Okay, that the atmosphere of the space has been tested and appropriate with properly calibrated instruments to ascertain acceptable levels of oxygen and acceptable levels of flammable or toxic vapors. So we have the gas detector, no? Actually, it is a combination oxygen and gas analyzer, no? And you have a portable one. The portable one, you can also connect a long hose for pre-testing, and you can remove that hose and then connect a shorter hose, and you can bring it inside the tank so that all the time it is working, no? Matagal naman ang battery nun. So the battery nun uh, can can be used for long periods of time uh, while you are working inside. Okay, that the space has been secured for entry and properly illuminated. So sometimes you can only illuminate on the um, near the opening, because that is of course you need current for that. The wires of the uh, cargo lights that you will use is not enough to go inside your ballast tank. So it's better to use a flashlight, no? Flashlight, a large one, of course, a large flashlight. Okay, that a suitable system of communication between all parties for use during entry has been agreed and tested. Of course, you must bring radio. And as per the checklist, you write, if you write 1 minute, then every minute they will ask for you. So, okay, are you safe? So you can answer. Okay, that an attendant has been instructed to remain at the entrance to the space while it is occupied. So there should be one person there, no? That rescue and resuscitation equipment has been positioned ready for use at the entrance to the space, and that rescue arrangements have been agreed. That personnel are properly clothed and equipped for the entry and subsequent tasks, and that a permit has been issued authorizing entry. Okay, for entry purposes, steady readings of the following should be obtained. By the way, for sometimes they do not have a good practice on board. Sometimes the work first before the permit, that is not correct. You can always question that, no? You can, even if you are cadet, ano kung pauwiin ka? Diba, paano kung ma-aksidente ka doon? Because if they do not have the permit, then only relying through experience, delikado yun, no? You need to follow the checklist in the permit. So, tandaan niyo yan. Ano? Anyway, hindi naman basta sinasama ang cadet dyan, pero ako, nagsasama ako ng cadet, no? if it is safe. Kasi para matutunan niya kaagad. Okay, so for the purpose of going inside, of course, the reading of the oxygen should be 21%. And then not more than 1% of the lower flammable limit on a suitably sensitive combustible gas indicator where the preliminary assessment has been determined or has determined that there is potential for flammable gases or vapors. So it means your pre-assessment, you already determined that there is a potential for flammable gases or vapor. That's why it is better to bring that portable equipment below, no? Because you can test it if it is working, no? Just blow air into the tube, the small tube, no? Just blow air, and it will detect your bad breath, and it will surely it will generate an alarm, no? Siyempre yung ating hininga meron yang carbon dioxide, di ba? So madedetect niya yon. Kaya lang kapag ginagawa ko yun, minsan natatakot yung aking kasamang, especially kung cadet. Minsan natatakot. Sir, nag-alarm yung ano mo ah. Di ba delikado? Sabi ko, binuguhan ko lang. Okay, TLB, threshold limit value for chemical substances is defined as a concentration in air, typically for inhalation or skin exposure. Its units are in parts per million, ppm, for gases and milligrams per cubic meter for particulates such as dust, smoke, and mist. The basic formula, so never mind the basic formula, no, we are not going to compute that one. But I will put it here. Okay, three types of TLB for chemical substance are defined. Threshold limit value, time weighted average. This is the average exposure on the basis of an 8-hour per day, 40 hours per week work schedule. And then we have the threshold limit value for short-term exposure limit. Spot exposure for a duration of 15 minutes that cannot be repeated more than 4 times per day with at least 60 minutes between exposure periods. And then you have the ceiling limit, absolute exposure limit that should not be exceeded at any time. Okay, precautions for entry. So nakita nyo yung kanyang ginagamit. Ano? This is oxygen and gas detector. No? So you can remove this hose, this long hose, no? And you can use it. Pwede mo siya ibulsa. Later I will show you, no? Okay, the atmosphere should be tested frequently while the space is occupied. The persons should be instructed to leave the space should there be a deterioration in the condition. Kaya nga mas maganda ikaw mismo magdala ng gamit. Because if they are going to test that and you are deep inside, of course they cannot detect the oxygen deep inside only until the reach of this hose. So it is better if you bring that below and you are detecting all the time. Okay, in the event of an emergency, under no circumstance or circumstances should the attending crew member enter the space before help has arrived, and the situation has been evaluated to ensure the safety of those entering the space to undertake rescue operations. Okay, if the protective clothing and equipment upon entry into the space, if the atmosphere in an enclosed space is suspected or known to be unsafe, The space should only be entered when no practical alternative exists. Kung kailangan lang, pasukin, no? Kung delikado, bakit mo papasukin kung hindi naman kailangan, no? Okay, entry should only be made for further testing, essential operation, safety of life, or safety of a ship, no? It means you have a urgent job to be done there inside, no? Let's say some bulbs are not working, parang ganon, no? But if only for inspection, but there is no necessary cause, only the schedule of inspection. So you must make a ventilation or more time for ventilation. Okay, the number of persons entering the space should be the minimum compatible with the work to be performed. Minimum, no? For inspection, 2 persons is enough. Okay, suitable breathing apparatus, for example, of the airline or self-contained type, should always be worn and only personnel trained in its use should be allowed to enter the space. Air purifying respirators should not be used as they do not provide a supply of clean air from a source independent of the atmosphere within the space. So okay lang yung airline because the air is coming from outside of the tank. No? And it is better if it is a self-contained type, kaso mabigat. Yeah, that is the disadvantage of the self-contained. Okay, rescue harness or harnesses should be worn and unless impractical, lifelines should be used. Appropriate protective clothing should be worn particularly where there is any risk of toxic substances or chemicals coming into contact with the skin or eyes of those entering the space. So if it is only practicable or it is not impractical for using those lifelines kasi minsan makadisturb na sa ating work there. Okay, sufficient and suitable lighting should be rigged as far as possible and where practical. All possible accesses should be open to improve ventilation and light. All equipment used in connection with entry should be in good working condition and inspected prior to use. Persons entering an enclosed space where there is a possibility of potential explosive atmosphere should be equipped with intrinsically safe torches. So kailangan yung intrinsically safe that those are used in actually in tanker vessels no na that not to cause spark even in radio no yung mga radio equipment should be intrinsically safe. Okay, only trained personnel should be assigned the duties of entering, functioning as attendants, or functioning as members of rescue teams. Ship's crews should be drilled periodically in rescue and first aid. Mechanical ventilation should be maintained throughout the time persons are in an enclosed space. Periodical test of the atmosphere should be made by persons working in an enclosed space. Pero sabi ko nga, dalhin mo na lang. Dalhin mo na yung portable oxygen gas analyzer so that it is working all the time. Hindi yung periodical, no? After work is completed, the area must be closed and secured. Kasi tinatawag natin sa bridge yan, no? Uh, they need to ask there what time you open um, the space, what time you entered, and what time you uh, get out of the tank or including the closing no closing and securing of the manhole nire-record dyan sa bridge. Okay, so hindi ko na discuss to. This is redundant. You can read through this later. Okay, these are the basic PPEs. Body protection, that is your coverall or any protection that is necessary for the job. Foot protection, either boots or safety shoes, no? Safety boots, no? Safety boots. And then you must have head protection, helmet, hand protection, your gloves, eye protection, your goggles, ear protection if you are working especially near the engine room. Medyo masakit sa tenga, no? So you need ear protection. Lighting, safety harness, breathing apparatus, for example, ELSA, and then portable gas detector. So ELSA meaning, okay, so you can see here, no? Meron siyang hawak na ELSA. This is like an EEBD, emergency escape breathing device, which is like the EEBD, yung emergency escape breathing device. Tapos nakita nyo nakabulsa sa kanya yung gas detector or oxygen gas analyzer.